Okay, so if you look into your system mails on Fairy Tale Fist, right, you would have received a message saying that SSR Heavens Wheel Erza it's going to come out in 5 days' time for the servers that have been launched for at least 15 days, which is very exciting because she's the first Supreme character or Supreme type of character that we're going to see on Global. So also I will take this opportunity to kind of just review her kit and give you some of my thoughts on whether I think she is any good. Now, the way she works is that she basically have skill 1, skill 2, skill 4, all giving her some kind of status effect. Skill 1 gives something called Trinity, skill 2 gives something which is called this. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I know I'll say that wrong. And then skill 4 gets 3 stacks of each one of them. And basically, when she get all those status effect, she can then use skill 3, which consume them to give her some kind of buff. So when she consumes Trinity, that becomes Pentagram. When she consumes the other one, that becomes a skill cooldown reduction by 5 seconds. So that's basically what you want to do, and that immediately tells you there's like a combo chain you want to play when you actually use her kit. More importantly, you want to execute the combo chain in one particular order because this skill or this status effect can only be stacked up to 3 times. So for example, if I use skill 4, I already get 3 stacks of them. At that point, I should be using my skill 3 to consume them straight away rather than using skill 1 or 2 because those extra stacks wouldn't be applied to me because I have already maxed out, for example. So therefore, you not only there's a combo that you need to do, you actually have to execute every single skill in the right order. So that's potentially something you have to bear in mind when you actually play her. And I can tell you, it's actually a really long combo chain. I actually, obviously the character is not out, so I'm kind of doing the calculation in my head, and I found the combo chain, which I think is probably the best combo she's gonna get, and it's a really, really long combo. So please bear that in mind when you decide whether you want to summon her, and whether you can actually even execute that combo correctly. Okay, so if we go back to the skills, basically what you see is that she'll be consuming them, right? Consuming those status for additional buff. And basically the buff she's going to get one skill cooldown reduction, which is quite basic, right? That's exactly what it says. And then the other one, Pentagram, which doesn't actually say exactly what it does. And that's because you have to then go onto the passive section, which is that the Pentagram is actually going to increase the damage of her skill 4 based on how many stacks there are. Now, Pentagram lasts for 30 seconds and can be up to 20 stacks. Now, 30 seconds is a really long time. However, you also have to bear in mind, you only get this when you actually use skill 3. So once again, I've done the math in my head just to see what's the maximum number of stacks you are able to get, and I can tell you, unfortunately, I think if you literally just have Erza at 4-star or 5-star, which is likely what's going to happen when the character comes out, unless you are like a Giga Well, the maximum you are going to take her is probably 4 or 5-star. Then, unfortunately, I think the maximum she's going to be able to get is only going to be 4 stacks for vast majority of the battle. In order for you to actually get to 7 stacks and 20 stacks, what you need is actually for her to reach 6 stacks. And then you get this one, which is basically at the start of battle, you get 4 stacks of Pentagram straight away. And every single time when you do basic or skill attack, you have an RNG chance to grant 1 extra stack of Pentagram. So basically, from my calculation, you're guaranteed to get 4 stacks if you play the combo correctly, which I'm going to tell you in a bit. You are guaranteed to get 7 stacks if you are able to actually unlock this. So her need to be at least 6-star, and then for 20 stacks, not only she need to be at least 6-star to unlock those additional passive, you need that RNG chance as well for that to really work. So while this sounds really, really strong on paper, just be mindful that when you actually do get her, the actual number you're going to see is more going to be like 8.8% or maybe 22% if you're extremely good with your combo, like you're able to execute the skills like literally one right after another, then potentially you're able to get 7 stacks. I mean, I would do the math with you in this video. I still don't think 7 stacks is doable, but let's do the math together. Just see whether we're able to pull this off without going to 6-star. But yeah, definitely just ignore this 20 stacks for now. Not only you have to get Erza to 6-star to get the passive, you also have to be extremely lucky with the RNG as well. Okay, so now let's talk about the combo that I saw for Erza, which you actually need to execute, and let's see how many stacks she is able to get. So, like I said, oh, also, one other thing. When she performs skill 3, it says it will only consume one stack of them. This is actually not correct. She actually consumes all of the stacks. Well, maybe this skill do multiple attacks, and each attack or each hit will consume one stack. Because it's actually really easy for you to test this. If you go into her gameplay, basically you can see, first of all, she starts off with 4 stat because when you're actually in this preview mode, you have all of those additional passive. So that's kind of why I start with 4 stacks already. If I use this one, so that's skill 4, I'll be getting myself 3 stack. So you can see me doing this. This should now turn into still 4. So I wasn't lucky enough with my RNG chance there, so I didn't get an extra few stacks of Pentagram from the passive, RNG passive. However, I do get 3 stacks of Trinity and also this status effect. Now, if I use skill 3, you can see that not only I consume all of them, this will also then get turned into Pentagram, which is exactly what you want to see. And also bear in mind, like I said, this is not how the description said. Description said you only consume 1 stack, but you can see clearly here, I would actually be able to consume all 3 of them. See, all of them gone. Also, I just realized the cooldown of Pentagram expires, so that's kind of why I'm back to 3 now. So do you remember that Pentagram only lasts for 3 seconds? You can see how long it lasts if you actually click on it, in fact. So this says 26.6 seconds left. If I do this again, 25.7 seconds. Yeah, okay. Time seems to decrease very slowly, but fine. But they do expire, so just really bear this in mind when you're actually executing the combo. Now, the combo that I sort of, which you definitely need to learn how to play, is gonna be this. Okay, so you have to bear with me when we do the maths together. But basically, you definitely want to separate out when you play skill 1 and 2 to when you play skill 4 because like I said you can only stack up to maximum 3 stacks, so you definitely do not want to max out or try to gain additional stacks when you're already maxed out, so you definitely want to separate them out. As soon as you go into battle, you want to use skill 4 first. That will give you 3 stacks, alright? And then you will immediately use skill 3. Skill 3 will then consume all of them, so at this point you are going to get 3 stacks of Pentagram because it converts everything there. And at the same time, because you have consumed 3 stacks of this status effect as well, you're going to reduce skill cooldown reduction by 15 seconds because each one of them reduced by 5 seconds. So now you actually reduce it by 15 seconds, right? So now basically what happens is this is something that we need to see when the game actually comes out. I'm going to assume this is going to be the case, and then this 24 second would then drop down to 9 seconds if the skill cooldown reduction applied to itself as well. We will need to see when Erza is actually in the game to see whether that's actually true, because in skill preview all of the cooldown is like just 1 second, so that's not very helpful for us to test it out. So this now potentially turns into either 9 seconds or 15 seconds. Sorry, either 9 seconds or 24 seconds, depending on whether the skill cooldown applied to itself. Now, for the benefit of doubt, I'm going to assume 9 seconds and just see how many stacks of Pentagram I'm able to stack up, right? So just imagine this now dropped to 9 seconds, and this one would also reduce by 15 seconds. So this now becomes 29 seconds. Those 2 are still available to use straight away because I haven't used them. So at that point, so you start off with skill 4, skill 3, then you use skill 1 and skill 2 right after each other. And basically when you do all of this, this cooldown will probably be something like 8 seconds, and this probably another 1 or 2 seconds went down. So this is probably something like 27 seconds now, and this is probably 7 or 8 seconds. And then this, because we have already used it, this will be starting its cooldown of 9 seconds, and this will be starting its cooldown of 16 seconds. Okay, so at this point you still only have 3 pentagram. Now, because you have already used this and used this, you don't have like a 8-second period where you are not able to use any skills. So potentially this is the point where you then switch out to a different character. But if you do switch out to a different character, just make sure that you're able to somehow switch her back in for Pentagram. Because I'm not sure whether this Pentagram, the cooldown for this Pentagram, the 30 seconds, whether it says it still remains when you switch to another character, but I'm not sure whether the cooldown is just kind of frozen in time or whether it keeps on running. So that's once again something else we need to test out when the character's actually here. But for the benefit of doubt, I'm gonna assume it keeps it's frozen in time. So when you pick it back up, you are still able to pick up exactly from when how many seconds you have left, rather than saying that when you're on a different character, the skill cooldown is still kind of being reduced, etc. But we'll have to wait and see to see how that works, because for most of the other buffs and also skill cooldown reduction in this game is that it's still running when you're switching to a different character. And if that's actually the case for Erza, then unfortunately that pretty much means that you really don't want to switch Erza in and out, because yes, the stacks are still remaining, but they are more likely to expire as soon as you come in. But that's something you do have to bear in mind. We'll have to see how Erza actually works when she's in the game. But anyway, if we go back to the cooldown, so we'll start with skill 4, then skill 3. At this point, like I said, you already have 3 stacks of Pentagram. Then you use skill 1, skill 2. Now you have an 8-second cooldown period where none of the skills is active, so you do your normal attacks. Then when the 8 seconds is over, both this and this is going to be available to use. This is going to be available to use because the cooldown is only 9 seconds itself. This is available to use because it's 24-second cooldown. However, you took away 15-second cooldown reduction when you have consumed the first 3 stacks from skill 4. So both of them will be ready to use. So then what you want to do is you want to apply skill 1 first and then apply skill 3. And basically at this point you would have 2 stacks of Trinity and 1 stack of this other status, and basically they will be turned into whatever buff. So now you would end up with another 2 additional stacks of Pentagram on top of the 3 you already got from your skill 4, so that's 5 stacks of Pentagram, right? And then you would also have reduced your cooldown reduction by another 5 seconds. Now when you reduce this cooldown reduction by another 5 seconds, it's very likely that this would then be available to be used again, because this only, because imagine you have to wait for the 9 seconds for you to be able to use skill 1 and skill 3 again. This is only 16 seconds cooldown, so there's only a 7-second difference, and because you're then reducing skill cooldown reduction by 5 seconds, it's very likely this will then be available to use. So you then use skill 2, and then when you have to do skill 2, if you now think about the cooldown skill 4, I started off with 44 seconds. I have consumed 3 stacks of hair to reduce by 15, so this becomes 29 seconds. I then have to wait 9 seconds for me to use skill 1 twice, so that becomes 20 seconds. Then I have reduced my skill cooldown by additional 5 seconds when I have used this, so this then becomes 10 seconds. So I'm still then not able to do anything with this. I have to wait for another 10 seconds where I'm not able to use any skills before I can then use this. And basically, if I'm not able to use any skills, then that basically means my Pentagram stacks is not going to get any higher. And that's kind of why I say by the time you are able to activate skill 4 again, it's I'm almost certain you will only be able to get 5 stacks on you. If you execute this combo chain correctly, you will never be able to get 7 stacks. So therefore, this is just you're not going to be able to hit any of the higher damage buff other than the 8.8%. If you are able to get this on, then fine, you get 4 stacks straight away, and then this, by executing the combo chain, you're guaranteed to be able to use your 7 stacks, and then therefore get 22% increase buff. So that's kind of why it's quite important for you to get Erza to at least 6 star. And then obviously if you actually try to aim for this 20 star, you have to be very, very lucky with your RNG, or maybe wait for later on in the game. Actually, no, it won't even work later on in the game because they only last for 30 seconds. So yeah, so you just have to get extremely lucky in order to actually pull this 20 stacks off. So that's something to bear in mind. But yeah, so you can kind of see the combo chain is quite long, right? And even after doing all those combo chain, it's only gonna be like an extra 8.8% increase in damage. So I do question how good this character really is. I mean, it sounds amazing on paper, but if you actually put it in practice, I actually do feel it's quite difficult. Let me just repeat the combo chain again, so you kind of know whether this is something you're comfortable with executing. Basically, you want to go skill 4, skill 3, skill 1, skill 2, wait 9 seconds, skill 1, skill 3, skill 2, wait 10 seconds, skill 4, skill 3, and then kind of repeats. So that's basically the combo chain. So it's actually quite long. You just have to make sure you are able to press all those buttons correctly in order to actually pull that off. So please do bear that in mind. Now, there's one way I think that you are potentially able to get to 7 stacks without going to 6 star. Um, Actually, no, I don't think you can because yeah, you definitely wouldn't be able to do to get to 7 stacks by the first time, or by the second time you use skillful. Maybe by the third time you're able to do it. But the strategy I just sort of in my head is actually if you pair this up with Erza or with the SR Erza or Midnight, who actually have a leader skill, which is skill cooldown reduction by 10%, then you're able to essentially shave off another 4 or 5 seconds from your skills. So when I talked about earlier, you got skill 4, skill 3, skill 1, skill 2, wait 9 seconds. Potentially those 9 seconds becomes only like, 7 seconds because they're shaving off some cooldown from this. So basically now you only have to wait for 7 seconds. Then you go skill 1, skill 3, skill 2. And now rather than having to wait for 10 seconds, you may only have to wait for like 5 seconds. And then you're able to use skill 4. It still wouldn't give you any extra stacks or pentagram for the second release of skill 4. But maybe by the time the third release, you're able to make up enough time for you to stack up a tiny bit more. So potentially that's how you may want to do it by pairing up with like Midnight or the SR version of Urza's leadership skill. So that's potentially something to bear in mind. Um, but yeah, oh, and also something else. If you're actually 6 star and you unlock all of the passive, this can also help as well. This is able to reduce the cooldown by an extra 0.7 seconds. So Trinity is, remember, the one that you're able to turn into Pentagram. So by the first, there's a chain of combo. Before you're able to release skill 4, you should have been able to use at least 5 stacks of Trinity and also 3 stacks of this. 4 stacks of this Blum blood, whatever. So that basically means 4 stacks is like 20-second cooldown reduction. 5 stacks of Trinity is like 3.5 seconds. If you then add in Midnight, who is able to give like another 5 or 6 second cooldown reduction, then you're actually then able to execute skill 4 like seamlessly throughout. So I think like for me to actually get Erza to work properly, you really need 6 star. But you kind of need the first passive from 6 star so that she is able to pull out those crazy damage buff, and then you kind of need the last skill from this passive in order for you to actually execute the combo chain back to back with like no cooldown period at all. So yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on Urza. Now this also then kind of look back to, do I recommend summoning on her or not? Personally, I mean, first of all, this is a gacha game. I know Erza is lots of people's favorite character, so there's nothing wrong with pulling a character because you really like them, and also because of PT carryover, so it's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. But however, personally, um, the way this kind of like Supreme Recruit works is that you are only able to buy 20 summon tickets, and also I think they give you like 5 tickets when through like events, etc. So you only get like 25 tickets. You need 50 to reach PT. So buy the first banner unless you are planning to buy another additional 25 tickets. Otherwise, you are not able to guarantee a character. First of all, that's something you have to bear in mind. Then the second thing is that I truly believe, even though Urza is very, very strong when you have all of her passive unlocked, I do feel the 6 star passive is like a massive game changer for her to really increase her damage output from 8.8% to 22% or potentially even 44%, and also so that you are able to execute all of her skills with like no cooldown interval in between at all. But those are some massive, massive buffs, and that almost make me wonder: is it really worth it to get an Urza if you're not able to max her out completely? So personally, I am not gonna summon Urza because first of all I cannot guarantee you the pity, and second of all I kind of want to make sure I am actually able to at least 6 star her before taking that plunge into this character, because remember all of the supreme characters are going to be really, really difficult for you to get. So I would personally just wait and see before making a decision. I kind of want to see other supreme character in the game. I know Mirror Jane is in the game, but I know there are also like another version of Natsu, there's another version of Grey, etc. I do want to review their kit before deciding who is the best Supreme character to go for. But on my first view of the character, I feel like Erza is only really gonna shine when you have her at 6 star. So that's something I want you to bear in mind. And also, to be frank, I'm really bad with combo this comes out. I don't think I will be able to actually play out all of the combo I just mentioned correctly in order to actually maximize how much damage she can do. So that's also another thing you have to bear in mind when you are making the decision on whether you want to summon on her.